and welcome to Restore's AGM. And I'd encourage the people in the room to come and sit down. That would be great. I'm assuming that if you're tuning in online at home, you're probably already sat down and you may already have a drink as well. The people in the room in front of me, they're just getting themselves a drink and getting themselves settled. There's a real buzz in the room because everyone loves a good annual general meeting, don't they? So welcome everyone. It's good to have people in the room and also people are joining us online at home. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ian King. I have the pleasure of being the senior leader of Restore Community Church and also Restore Community. And tonight is the annual general meeting for both Restore Community Church and Restore Community. Covering really the year of 2022 because 2023 hasn't finished yet, so we can't give a report on the year of 2023 yet. I always find when I go to these kind of events it's helpful to have a running order so you know what's happening. So basically the order for tonight is this is the welcome bit. This is as good as it gets for a welcome. We're then going to do some feedback from each of the different Restore congregations. So each of the congregation leads will come and give some feedback. Then we're going to have an update from Restore Community, and Jodie's sent something from Zambia for the work of Beyond Ourselves. Then Pauline, our Chair of Trustees, is going to give the financial update, which is always the bit that you get excited about and have the rah-rahs and cheers in the room. And then we'll have some organisational updates at the end, and we'll give the results of the polling that we've done in preparation. And if you have any questions, at the end we'll have a question time and we'll take live questions in the room. But also if you're watching online, you can either put them in the chat and we have somebody monitoring the chat and downloading questions from it, or you can send your questions to questions@restorecc.org.uk. And if we don't get to your question tonight, we will come back to you. And just to answer the question that I'm sure you're all asking right at the very beginning, you're all sitting there thinking, what have you done to your chin, Ian? Well, it wasn't that I had a falling out with the missus before I came out, but I did have a disagreement with a jet ski when I was in Tenerife, and this is the consequence. However, the jet ski did come off a lot worse. I sorted it out afterwards. So I'm still recovering from that. One of my passions is that we actually rebrand this evening, and I'd like to change it from being an annual general meeting to an annual gratitude meeting. So in many ways, it's an opportunity to say thank you to God and celebrate all that he's done in the life of Restore in 2022. And I know we always start with a quote from Jesus or from the Bible. So I thought in the same spirit, we'd have a quote from Piglet. Piglet noticed that even though he had a very small heart, it could hold a rather large amount of gratitude. And my prayer for tonight is that actually we're aiming to cover this in hopefully an hour, but that we end up with our hearts full of gratitude for all that God has done and is doing in our midst. So we're going to move on to get some feedback from each of our different Restore locations. At the moment we have 5 physical locations that meet on a Sunday. And one digital location. Dustin was just saying before we started that we get between 50 and 60 people still watch Restore online on a Sunday digitally. And so that's not a small number of people. That's actually one of our larger physical locations. And we're going to keep doing that into the future. But it'd be great to get a report from each of our different location leads. And because it starts alphabetically first, we're going to kick off with the wonderful Jew Hodges, who's going to give us a report from Restore Albany.
Clapping. I hope you're clapping at home in your living rooms. Yeah, Restore Albany, it's been a really exciting time. As I was thinking about this evening, I couldn't quite believe how much has happened since we were standing and sat here this time last year. But I'll just give you some highlights. There's lots going on at Restore Albany. If you don't know us, we're based in Enfield. We are Enfield Lock. We're a relatively deprived borough in the larger borough of ward in the larger borough of Enfield, and we're on the Hertford Road. So we have a great location. We're right by a bus stop. We're right by the leisure centre and lots of different kind of coffee shops and very diverse community. It's like the perfect location to reach people for Jesus. So we're really blessed. If you haven't ever been along to visit us, please do. We'd love to see you. So since this time last year, there have been a lot of things happening, but probably I travelled here with one of the member of our congregation, actually, the lovely Karen. Hope she doesn't mind me saying that. And I said to her in the car, what would your one highlight of the year be if I had to say something? And fortunately, she said something that was on my list, so that was good. But she just said Tony's baptism, because we hadn't had one for so many years. And so, yes, earlier in the year, we had a baptism. We've got a baptistry, and it was great to kind of bust it open and have the first baptism, I think, of probably about 20 years or so. It's been a long time. So that was really exciting. We've been running Alpha as well. We're on our third Alpha course, just starting a couple of weeks ago. So that's been really encouraging to see a steady flow of people coming through Alpha. We're continuing with some of our community outreaches. So we have a Grow Baby project that this time last year was still in its infancy, but now is very much fully fledged, and we have families every Monday coming regularly. What's lovely, though, is that we also have our toddler group mums regularly donating. So there's this kind of real feel of reusing, recycling, blessing each other. Just last week, a cot bed had come in and then it had gone out, and then that family had brought it back again, and it's ready to go out again for the next people because their little one's outgrown it. And just that sense of community happening now is really lovely. We've continued with Messy Church. It's something that Albany have done really well for many years, and that continues to see lots of families come monthly to hear about Jesus. And our holiday clubs, so we've continued to be funded by Enfield from their HAF budget, and that's such a privilege to be able to serve the local families through our holiday clubs. And our summer holiday club, we had our highest attendance figures yet, so we're really thrilled with the growth of those things. Also, I've gained a member of staff since I stood here last time, because we now have Debbie. Debbie is our community worker over at Albany. She does 8 hours a week for us. She actually does way more than that, so I'm so grateful to her. But we have her for 8 hours a week, and she's largely responsible for our Rainbow Club and our toddler time, which has continued to go from strength to strength, and we are desperate to start a new morning. So we're really hoping that by January we might be in a position to launch a second morning. There seems to be very little in the area at the moment for, well, to be fair, for lots of groups of people, but young families being one. The other area where there's a lack of provision, and ever since I've been at Albany, I've had a heart to do something, but we haven't quite been ready to go for it yet, and that's been with the youth. And this September, so just last month, we had our first youth night, and we've got our next one coming up at the end of October. And that was really exciting because actually we had 12 youth come along to our first session, and only 4 of them were people connected with the church. The others were people that have come, they've perhaps outgrown Holiday Club, but we've stayed in contact with their families, or they've been Messy Church and they don't come so much because their children are older now. So being able to reconnect with some of those and have those youth come along. And then yesterday I sent the link for the October session, and I sent it in the morning, and by lunchtime there was 8 spaces booked already. So I'm really encouraged that we're going to have a really thriving youth club, but that one that is genuinely an outreach youth club, and that sees people, not just the youth, but their parents and their wider families come to know Jesus as well. So yeah, there's been lots going on. I've probably missed things out. I just want to say a massive thank you to the leadership team at Albany. I get to stand here, but clearly there's a whole load of people not standing here who I want to thank. My leadership team is Ian Sawyer and Sandra West and Alan Goldring. But there's also a core group of incredibly committed volunteers. I'm not going to name them because I might miss somebody out, and that would be desperate. But they know who they are. They serve regularly, Mondays, Wednesdays, Messy Churches, so faithful, and I'm so grateful to all of them. And just if you would be praying for us, I just thought I'd take the opportunity to give you a few things to pray for. Please would you pray for Alpha as we continue to see people come through Alpha. It's great to do all the community stuff, but ultimately we want people to know Jesus. So Alpha is our tool for that at the moment. We'd love to see more baptisms. So I'm thinking that in the spring, it might be time to bust open the baptistry again, so pray for that for me. If you could pray for a worship leader. Our Sunday attendance has really grown and stabilised, actually, I think, over the last year. But it would be really helpful if we had a regular, committed worship leader to sort of help to build our services. So if you know anyone, or if I'm saying that to you and you're sitting at home and you're feeling a little stir and a little palpitation, then please get in touch, because that would really bless us in the next season. And yeah, just to pray that our second Rainbow Club might be able to be established in the new year. So pray for the finance and the team that we would need to do that, for our youth, because that's going to be very exciting. And just that we have more encounters with Jesus. We have lots of connection points, and we just want lots of opportunities to turn connection points into encounter moments and salvation moments. So if you could pray for all of that, that'd be great. Is that my time? That's my time. Thank you so much.
You can always count on Ju, not just to give some feedback, but also do an appeal and try and recruit. She does that regularly in all of our meetings. But it is really exciting to see what God is doing at Albany, and the way that the whole church is stepping into a new season and seeing new people come along, which is great. That's also the case at Epping. So I'm going to encourage, I'm going to ask Alice to come up, encourage her to come up. We were going to plant Restore Epping from Restore Loughton, and we started a process of doing that on Sunday afternoons, and I was helping lead the way towards that. When I stepped out last year, we had to rethink how we did it, and so Restore Epping kind of morphed into something which I think is probably more what God wanted in the first place anyway. And Alice has been one of the key figures in that. So who would you say are the key figures leading the charge in Restore Epping?
Okay, so along with myself, there is Jane and Duncan Gould, and Ali and Tim Dolan, and the five of us tend to lead the way in Epping.
Great, and you're going to give us some feedback in terms of what you've been doing in Epping and the exciting things that God's doing?
Absolutely.
Over to you then, Alice.
Okay, so we are a home church. We don't have a congregation as such. We have individual sort of meetings. There's about 30 people connected into Epping Restore, but it's not just Epping Restore, it's also Loughton. Some people come from Loughton, but we also predominantly Thaden Boys as well, and Thornwood and places like that as well. So our big focus is on our relationships. So our relationships with God predominantly first, and then with each other and in our community as well. We meet together in a variety of ways throughout the week. I'm not seeing all the slides, I can't see the Monday. Can you put the Monday up for me? So on Mondays, our young people come in and meet in Epping, and we've got quite a big group of young adults and a couple of interlopers who like to lead and guide our young adults. And they have loads of fun, and they eat loads of snacks, and they share their lives together, and they talk about their faith and what their understanding is and where they want to go. And they're just getting to really gel well as a group now. On Thursdays, those of us who are not quite so young, and also some of those as well, they often, we can't keep them away. Some of them come and join us on a Thursday as well, and we always start with dessert. Food is a big thing in Epping, and so we always start with dessert and coffee, and we are sharing an opportunity to read the Bible, and we spend time sharing testimonies. We have a focus on hearing what Jesus himself is actually doing, what he said, what he did. And this is a really great opportunity for people within the group to ask questions and just think about what they believe. And we have a wide variety of people that come. Some are new to Christianity, some are still looking, some are on the fringes. And some are like me and Duncan. And I don't know what that counts as. On the weekends, and although most of the congregations meet on a Sunday, we do things on both a Saturday, a Sunday, sometimes Friday nights, various different times across the weekend. It's really important that we do life together. So we visit places, we eat in virtually every time we just eat. So there's roast dinner, there's opportunities for a soup supper, afternoon tea, we go out and meet each other at a cafe. We have also sometimes times of worship or prayer walks, sometimes virtual prayer walks, depending on the weather. In the summer, a big group of them came and had a picnic near our boat, which was lovely as well. And we've even held a Eurovision party. And just like to say, Harry actually does have more than one colour T-shirt, but that's the one he wears to Epping, apparently. Our other big focus is on partnership with other local Christians. So we are part of CTED, which is the Churches Together in Epping and District. In fact, Ali and Jane are both on the committee, helping to guide and work in partnership with other Christians in Epping and Thaden Boys. And we visit and support other things that are going on. There's no point in starting something new if somebody else is already doing it and could use some people to get involved. And one of the things that we are part of is English lessons for refugees at the Bell Hotel. And some of us also help to wrap Christmas presents for the children at the Phoenix Hotel, where they also have refugee children. During Lent, we held a lunch during the Churches Together held lunches in different churches, and we did ours at the Box, which I will come to in a minute, and we wanted to raise money for the language resources that are needed for teaching the English. We also are very pleased with the fact that we were able to partner with Thaden Boys Baptist Church for an Alpha course. And they had all the good equipment and the kitchen, and they provided a fantastic meal, and they set it all up and everything. We came alongside them as people able to lead the groups, listen to the people of all different backgrounds and ages came, and we had several different groups with it, small groups within that. We were able to lead those discussion groups. Can we go to the one about the Box? So the Box is where we have some of our meetings. The Box is a small Epping-based charity. It supports young people, and it's predominantly headed up at the moment by Tim Dolan, along with a team of other people, and our interns, Abby and Alina, help out a couple of afternoons a week with the youth club that they hold. They also have after school, they also have facilities for some counselling. And the Open Box has come out of the work that was done when the Box was started, and now it is actually it's now an independent school, but it came out of the fact that there were young adults who struggled to fit into mainstream school, and they provide a nurturing environment for these young adults, up to 16-year-olds, and Ali Dolan leads that, and she said that she feels that this is God's desire to provide a home for the educationally homeless. And that's where we are at the moment. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Alice. It is really exciting to hear and see all the stuff that God's doing in Epping, and it's well worth getting an invitation along, because not only do you get well fed, but it's great company there, and you get to see some of the stuff that God's doing. Our next report is coming from Restore Loughton. If you don't know, we've just appointed Malcolm Pierce to be the assistant lead at Loughton, which is very exciting for me because it frees up some of my time to be able to lead the Restore family overall. Malcolm can't be here tonight because his daughter Lucy is 18 today, and so It was a choice between celebrating her 18th birthday and coming to the AGM, and so I don't know why we lost. However, worry not, because Malcolm made a video. So over to Malcolm on his bike.
Hello Restore, here we are at Restore Football. Cut, can't do. My name's Malcolm and I've recently been appointed as the Associate Leader of Restore Congregation in Loughton. It's Thursday morning, I'm here with Matt at the Oakwood Hill Community Centre. What's going on, Matt?
Yeah, we have a drop-in today, and it's normally for people who actually need help, just getting advice with housing, benefits, etc. So we are serving people in the community, and we're working with a charity called Peabody.
I'm here with our good friends from EFCC on the Broadway. This is Rich. Say hello, Rich.
Hello, Rich. Hope you have a really good AGM.
I am back here in the Oakwood Hill Community Centre with some very important people. And we're just having a little sort out because our lease renews in 12 days and we are getting it ready to make it home, aren't we? The Oakwood Hill estate has been a massive part of our life as Restore over these last 40 years nearly, and we've been very much involved in the community here for a long time. We've been running Noah's Ark here now for a good number of years. We have slowly been given more and more access to the Senior Citizens Hall, and it's now been completely given over to us. And Joe is just in the process of signing the lease for the next season. We're really excited about it, about what God's going to be doing in this next new season. I am standing outside Alderton Junior School. This has been home for Restore Loughton for the last couple of years now, and we have developed and are continuing to develop a really strong partnership with the school in this community. Just a short walk up from the Oakwood Hill Community Centre, and we're really finding that we're getting lots of momentum. We have Hester and Jew come in and do some transforming lives for good with some of the pupils here at the school, and there's lots of really strong links that we're able to build into the community through our meeting here on a Sunday. Yeah, and I'm here every now and again as well, doing a bit of forest school. So please be praying for Restore Loughton. We are really excited and are full of anticipation as we wait on God for this next season, and as we seek to join Him in what He is doing here in this place.
There's no one quite like Malcolm, is there? What's exciting in Loughton, just the last few weeks, we've been running Noah's Ark 3 mornings a week, and we're starting to get a run of families from Noah's Ark visiting on a Sunday now, and that's people that are unchurched and not been followers of Jesus. And that's the first time, I think, in all the history of Noah's Ark that we've started to see now what is a trickle start to become a stream, which is one of the reasons we made some of the reorganisations that we did. So that's very exciting to see the first fruits of that. Next is another video contribution. Dustin is managing all our equipment at a room in the back, and so he couldn't do that at the same time as share about everything that's happening at Winchmore Hill. So over now to a video and Dustin.
Good evening, Restore Community Church. My name is Dustin Pruitt. I lead the Winchmore Hill location. I'm sure all this has been shown to you already or told to you already. I am currently in the back in the gallery. I'm the guy that hit play on this very video that you're hearing. I feel like I do a lot of things at Restore, and I love every bit of it. I've been doing a lot of the video, a lot of the tech stuff as of late, but you're here to hear about Winchmore Hill. And I've got to say, I'll start it off, we're in a time of transition. We've currently been renting out at a local United Reformed church, and we are on the lookout for our own premises, or at least a more home feeling premises. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. I've been going on bike rides and walks around the whole west infield area, trying to find, God, where are you leading us? You're taking us from one thing into a new thing, that you're ever calling us onwards, closer to you. And that's kind of what we're doing. And the word that I feel like God's spoken to us over the season is Moses raising the staff over the sea. God split the sea, and the Israelites are going forward. And they could be looking to the left or the right and see the towering walls of water that could easily consume them. They could be looking behind them and seeing the Egyptians chasing after them. All these things telling them it's not safe passage. You should be worried, but God is calling them forward into the promise, forward into the safety. And that's what God's doing for us right now. He's calling us forward into this new thing that He has for us. We're a place where we can flourish and really hit the ground running, if you will. But to go along with that word is to do what He's asked us to do. God asked the Israelites cross from one side to the other, and He's asked us to continue on with what we're doing. We have a once a week in term time seniors choir that meets. It's called More Than a Song. We regularly have about 25 to 30 pensioners coming together and singing a song. I go along myself every other week. I'm very glad that in the Bible it says make a joyful noise instead of a joyful note. And that's kind of the whole thing of More Than a Song. It is just a lot of joy in the room after the singing is done. By the way, led by Haley Harding, the dynamic and awesome person, the team that I have at Winchmore Hill of Haley, of Claire, of Chris, it just blows my socks off. And as Haley is done leading the choir, they have a meal together. And it's just such a great time of the week that so many people get to look forward to. Another thing that we started doing new in this past season was we do a game night where we just invite people in. Hey, we're going to be doing trivia games. We're going to be doing active games. We're going to be just doing all sorts of games to really highlight that we're a family. And families play games together. Families have fun together. And so this has been a great time for people. And mainly what it has been is spouses that don't go to church, they get to come to game night. That they feel comfortable. They want to come to game night where they don't want to come to church. Well, surprise, it's all church. We are the church. So they're coming in the doors, and we just have fun together for about an hour and a half. We have crisps, we have snacks, and we get to crown the winner at the end of the night. Which team was the best at blowing balloons up, was the best at stacking cups, was the best at trivia. But it's just been such a fun time. And that kind of really sums up what Winchmore Hill is doing in the season is we are leaning into the family. That our strengths are in relationships, our strengths are in knowing one another and loving one another and being there for one another. So that's what we do. We are there for one another. And that's what we're going to be doing going forward into this new thing, into the new promise that God has given us. I think that's all my time for right now. Thank you so much, guys. Please check back in with us. Some of you will hear from us next AGM, but if you happen to see me come by one of your locations, stop, ask me, what's Winchmore Hill up to? Because we're always up to something. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, Dustin, for the report and also for the tech. Going well so far. Well done. And last but not least, in terms of our congregation reports, Tobias is going to share what's happening at Restore Woodford.
So I I just looked back and realized it's actually 2 years since we opened the doors of Woodford and started to gather here every Sunday morning. That's post the pandemic or post-COVID. And I'm not a guy who really looks to numbers a lot, but then I was interested. So I went on ChurchSuite to find out, did we grow in any way? And I realized that we actually grew in the last 1 year by 50%. And I was just like, wow, that's something to celebrate. And numbers don't lie, so that's a good thing. But a few notable things for us at Woodford that we celebrate and we're beginning to see. And if you want to appreciate, our circumstances, is we came to the neighborhood, and the history is that the building had been closed for some time. So I'm just talking about what I heard from Ian and other people, that the building was closed for some time. So really it's like trying to warm up the area, like warming up to relationships and beginning to revive relationships that were there before. And the joy of it is starting to see people that used to come to this building start to think of coming. In the last 1 year, we've had some who have stepped in here. And it's just that joy of realizing that we are starting to create relationship in the neighborhood again. But the good thing also is, or more than that, is seeing people who had never been here walk in here and make this their church and their congregation. And I feel like of the 50% that we have grown, it's people that have not been traditionally Restore members. And that's when you realize, hey, something's happening. It's not people traveling from Loughton coming here or traveling from any other Restore location, but it's people that are starting to come based on relationships around us. So I would say about 50% of our congregation now comes from our area here, which is something that we want to celebrate a lot about. When we were stepping out a year ago, again, thinking about our ministry year, one of the things that we wanted to see strongly was how can we partner with parents so that we create a generational ministry, so that we see young people worshiping with their parents and worshiping with a generation above them, above their parents. And we've seen that work very well. We've seen a very strong worshiping community where you have children worshiping all the way to their grandparents in that sense. I'm talking about age-wise here. And one of the strong things you would find here in Woodford is the sense that there is spiritual development for our young people. If you came here 1 year ago, you probably would have noticed there are many young people among us, but you may not have noticed how confident they have become. Now, if you come here, they would be leading services. Not just leading in song, they will be standing here and literally leading the entire service. And we've even had them even do like sermonettes, in the process, because we believe that all these people need to be discipled in a way that they are confident in their faith and they're able to stand on their own when they're out in their schools and their playground and wherever they go. And that's what we've started seeing in partnership with the parents, that we're starting to see confident people. We have stories of people who are dealing with anxiety, but now their parents are able to say they no longer deal with that. They deal better with anxiety. They're more confident about who they are. They're able to speak upright about their faith without any shame. And the beauty of it is now when they start inviting their friends to come to church, that's another level of growth. And we've started seeing that not only in our Sunday gatherings when they invite their friends, we're seeing that they're inviting their friends to the Tuesday gatherings, which are really outside of church in the sense of, hey, would you come for a Tuesday night youth meeting? And we're seeing that as something that's continuing to grow. I mean, Drew could attest to this, that we have now a Woodford youth group that meets here with the addition of people who are not members of this church joining our youth group. And that's something to praise God for. One of the things that we really wanted to see last year was that we would start small groups, that our communities would not just meet on a Sunday morning, but that they would extend the community to smaller communities where they can grow in love. We didn't see that happen. But from next week, we have our first small group starting. And then we are hoping that we're able to increase and multiply those small groups as we train our leaders to be able to do so. Now, one of the things that we dream and continue to dream is, hey, when I look at all the, and I really love the things we've seen with other congregations, how do you serve and love your community at their point of need? And we feel like one of the big missing piece in Woodford is just not knowing, at least for now, not knowing what are the real needs of our community and how can we come alongside them. So we are not ashamed to say it's not yet there, and we are dreaming and praying that God would open for us an opportunity to be the hands and the feet of Jesus in our community. So if you're praying for us, or God reminds you of us, pray that we would know the true needs of our community. I'm talking about Woodford Bridge, Woodford in general, how we can come alongside our community. One of the things that started to happen here is our dream to open these doors to many people, not just to us as Woodford congregation, but to open it to a community. And now we have a table tennis that runs, a moment where people can connect over table tennis that runs here often. And Jason, one of us in our leadership team, is giving leadership to that. And so things like that we want to continue seeing grow into this building opening maybe 5 days of the week so that we can be able to reach a lot more people. So yeah, that's a little bit from Woodford. And let me finish with one of the 5 statements that we're working through and dreaming about, like strategic statements that we have for the next next ministry year. Number 1 is we want to be a community committed to Jesus, helping others find Jesus. So we are working that, we are laying strategies around how can we be a community that's committed to Jesus and helps others to find Jesus. Number 2, we want to be a community that's growing in the knowledge of God. So we want people to feel like, yes, I'm growing in my knowledge of God. But above all, that we can also be fluent in grace, how we show and love our people. And number 3, we want to be a community that's compelled by the love of God to reach and restore the world around us. And I've talked about just that sense of community, loving our community in practical ways. And then number 4, we want to be a community committed to winning the next generation. That's something we have committed ourselves, that we want to see our children ministry become large and large in this area. We want to see our youth ministry become large and large. And so as you pray for that. And finally, we want to become, in the next ministry, a community that welcomes the supernatural. And that becomes a language we speak fluently. Thank you.
Thank you, Tobias. It's great to hear and see all the things that God's doing in the different parts of Restore. Tonight's an AGM for 2 organisations, for Restore Community Church and also for Restore Community. We have actually 2 charities that are both a part of Restore. They're sister charities with the same set of trustees. And all the church activities we put under the domain of Restore Community Church. And our community activities we put under the Restore Community Charity. One of the reasons we did that is it's possible to get external funding for some of the community stuff that we do, and having a charitable vehicle that isn't a church actually enables us to be able to access some of that funding. And so for Restore Community, we've got activities based really in 2 areas. We've got UK activities, and then we've got the work of Beyond Ourselves in Zambia. So the current projects that are running under Restore Community in the UK are on the next slide. That's so in Loughton we've got the Grow Garden, Heidi's doing amazing work with the community garden at Grow, and loads of volunteers participate in that on a Wednesday and a Saturday. The council love us for doing that, or love Heidi for her contributions in doing that. We've got Noah's Ark, we've got the Holiday Club, we've got Transforming Lives for Good, which is mentoring primary school children at Alderton School, Kintsugi Hope, which is a wellbeing course, and also there's a Monday night table tennis club that happens at Oakwood Hill Community Centre. Albany, Ju mentioned a number of these: Grow Baby, Rainbow Club, Holiday Club, Drop-In Cafe and Messy Church. And at Winchmore Hill we've got More Than a Song. We're also partners in the Enfield Cap Debt Centre, and also Shine, which works with the families that come and connect into Night to Shine. So families with children with additional needs. And so they're all housed under Restore Community as a charity. A large part of the work of Restore Community, though, is actually the work of Beyond Ourselves in education now in Zambia, which has really opened up over the last couple of years. Jodie normally gives us a report from Beyond Ourselves live in person. She's currently in Zambia at the moment, but she sent us a wonderful video. So Jodie is going to tell us all about Beyond Ourselves.
Good evening and happy AGM. I'm Jodie and I'm here to bring you an update on all things Beyond Ourselves. For those of you who don't know, Beyond Ourselves is a project of Restore Community, which is the sister charity to Restore Community Church. And I just want to give you an update on who we are and what we do, some highlights and what we're looking forward to. So first of all, you might be wondering who we are. So here's a little list for you of the team from the UK. And you'll see we also, some of us work remotely as well. And so we're responsible for delivering Beyond Ourselves objectives in Zambia, and also the fundraising and awareness and partnerships here in the UK. We then work really closely with Beyond Ourselves Zambia, which is a separate legal entity over in Zambia, but we work as kind of one family, one team. And Beyond Ourselves Zambia has a new Zambian director, Daniel Zulu, who's doing an amazing job. And here's the rest of the team as well. So they're responsible for the day-to-day delivery of Beyond Ourselves aims and objectives on the ground in Zambia. And in case you're wondering what we look like, here's a picture of some of us plus a couple of extras, not everybody if I'm honest, but it was the last time we were all together back in June. So there we are if you wanted to see our smiling faces. So you might wonder what Beyond Ourselves does. We're primarily focused on education. We believe every child has a right to education and quality education at that, and we want to see potential released for this generation and the generations to come. Specifically through literacy at the moment, we know that literacy is key to transforming lives, and so we want to facilitate the literacy training across Zambia. We're also really passionate about community and about speaking to young people and into their lives to let them know who they are and whose they are. So Beyond Ourselves, some highlights from 2022. It's a long time ago now, it feels like, but a few things for you just so you can get an idea of what we were up to in 2022. A highlight for us, which might not sound very exciting to you, but here in Zambia we had an office extension and a storage extension. Our work has grown over recent years, as has our team, and we were struggling to fit everyone and everything in the space we had. And so we released funds to to build a bigger office to fit everyone in comfortably and a space to work, as well as store all our resources and everything that we are creating and making and doing. So that was really exciting for us. We also did a lot of literacy training with our contextualized Jolly Phonics training program. We trained 1,500 teachers, which has probably impacted over 60,000 children and their learning of the English language. And out of some of those teachers that we've been training over the years, we've spotted people with potential who are passionate about literacy and just have a real strength in implementing the Jolly Phonics program. And so we've put 15 people through the Jolly Phonics training course, and 3 of those by the end of 2022 have become official trainers, which was really exciting. A couple of other highlights from 2022. Beyond Ourselves Zambia was officially recognised by the Ministry of Education as a CPD, a continuous professional development service provider for teachers here in Zambia. And just so you know kind of how special that is, we're one of 5, so that's pretty amazing, the favour we've had on us for that. we were also granted permission to conduct teacher training in literacy to all correctional facilities in Zambia. So some of our team have been going into prisons in 2022 and 2023 to deliver literacy training to inmates and to guards alike, to raise the literacy levels in those places and give those who are being released a chance of a different life. An update for 2023. We've had a lot of team changes. We've had some major transition this year. As many of you know, Dan and Melissa, who have lived in Zambia for 10 years, leading the team here, relocated to Canada just a few months ago. And so we appointed earlier in the year a new Zambia director, Daniel Zulu, who's done an incredible job at holding the team together and transitioning them through what could have been a really rocky time. We've seen other NGOs really struggle, other charities and organisations struggle when there's been a change of leadership like that. And I'm just really impressed. I've been over here for the last little while, and just the team are doing so well. They're healthy, they're all in, they're passionate, and Daniel's leading with such integrity and care. So that's fantastic. We also have completed the Copperbelt Province literacy rollout. So that's the Jolly Phonics program that we're talking about, which meant we trained teachers in 515 schools across the province, which is about 3,500 teachers that we trained, impacting over 150,000 pupils with that literacy skill. So that's really incredible. It's been a huge piece of work, and yeah, job well done to our team. Also, just a little update, our Memorandum of Understanding with the government here in Zambia has historically been that we can do literacy training for primary schools in the Copperbelt Province only. And this year it's changed that we have authority, permission to do any subject across all ages, so primary, secondary and tertiary, across the whole of Zambia, which is really exciting and a real nod to how well the government think of us. So that's been something to celebrate this year. Also, where education has taken a real front seat over the last couple of years, some of our other programs like Dignity, which is the program we've brought up from South Africa from our friends there, which focuses on the girl child and giving her instruction, I guess, but also just that love and that care and teaching of who she is and whose she is. So identity, belonging and purpose in God. And also it talks about sexual health and some of the issues surrounding that here in Zambia. And there's also a boys program called Dare, Dare to be Different, and that focuses on the same thing, who and whose they are, identity, belonging and purpose in God, but also looks at other issues for those boys, so peer pressure, pornography and other things. And that's had to take a real back seat over the last couple of years. So I'm really excited that Daniel and the team are looking to resurrect that. And so just in a few weeks' time, we've got some trainers coming up from South Africa to train over 30 people, not just from Beyond Ourselves Zambia, but from other organisations who have a heart for young people. And we're looking to really facilitate that training, those workshops across communities here in Ndola, first of all, and really excited about that. So looking ahead to 2024, I'm almost done, I promise. Looking ahead to 2024, yes, the Dignity and Dare campaign, really looking forward to seeing how that grows and develops. We've got lots of ideas, letting Daniel lead that as we go along, but looking at after school clubs as well, and really just focusing in on those most vulnerable children in community schools who need to know that they are loved by their Father in heaven and that they are valued and that they are worth something. So we're looking forward to Dignity and Dare in the year to come. Also more literacy training. So we're moving into another province in January, the Central Province, which is just along from us, and doing a pilot there in January, ready for a rollout later in the year. There's also talk, well, there is a new national curriculum coming here in Zambia, and I can't give too much away. It's not been signed, sealed and delivered yet, but that looks like it will have a massive impact on our work and on the nation as a whole. So please be praying into that. Pray for us as a team. For all that's ahead. Keep praying for good health and for good just community and unity for us as a team as we continue to transition into this new season. And pray for wisdom as we look ahead and make decisions of how best to serve God and his kingdom, and see his kingdom come in this place where he's called us to. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your AGM.
Jodie and the Beyond Ourselves team have done a fantastic job, and it's amazing to see the opportunities that God is opening up before them. So we really want to celebrate them and all of their work. Now, our Chair of Trustees is Pauline Doyle, who does a fantastic job, and the highlight of her year is getting to speak at the Restore AGM. So if you want to put your hands together and encourage Pauline.
Yeah, it's my favourite night. It has to be said. But no, thanks for being here. I just was thinking, I don't know how to follow some of that really. But I guess just on behalf of the trustees, just to call out the location leads really, and just to say thank you. Thank you for everything you've shared. Thank you for everything you've sown into Restore over the last 12 months. And yeah, just on our behalf, thank you. And to everybody that's a member, including obviously me and us as trustees, let's just continue to pray for our leaders and celebrate them. So yeah, moving on to the financial update. As Ian was saying, we're looking at the 2022 full year. Just move on to the next slide. So as we've been saying, the trustees oversee the two charities, both the church and the community. So I'll quickly run through the financial highlights for both. And again, just to reiterate, this is 2022. You can see the income for 2022 for the church decreased by just over 15%. Total expenditure, just a slight reduction, a reduction of around about 8%. I'll come back to some of these numbers subsequently, but moving on to the next slide. In terms of the community, again, numbers are self-explanatory in terms of a growth of just under 4%, increase in expense around 21%. The predominance of these numbers for the community really represent what Jodie was just talking about in terms of Beyond Ourselves. So all of the staff activities from a UK perspective sit within the church charity. So really these numbers are, I would say, pretty much 90% relative to what Jodie was describing in Beyond Ourselves. There's just a couple of slides now that follow which just show you a comparison across 2020 into 2022. Don't know how clear that slide is coming, but you see the grey bar there shows you the current year being 2022, and the spread of the income across those 3 years, month on month. You can see, obviously, and this one shows you the trend in terms of the number of givers. So I guess the first thing to say really is that you can see some challenges that we had in 2022, but I don't think that should distract in any way from the fact that we value every single gift and every single giver, and everything that you are bringing to this charity and to this church. We're grateful for, and so yes, even though the numbers might look sometimes challenging, I don't think that it should ever prevent us from celebrating every single piece of the jigsaw and every single commitment that people are making into that. I'll talk a little bit about reserves, but this just shows you the picture of what happened across the reserve to our reserve position in 2022. The first bar shows you what the target would be. The last bar shows you where we ended the year in terms of our performance against that target. So I guess in summary, that left the trustees at the end of 2022 in a reasonably challenging position. It's, I think it's a privilege to be a trustee, and I love working with the trustees that we've got. It's an important role, and it's great to be trusted by God and by the church to lead. But it also creates some challenges sometimes, and I think when we reached the end of 2022, we realised really that we needed to reconsider our position financially in order to recreate some sustainability. We certainly needed to ensure that we went into 2023 with an ability to have a cost model that was more in line with our giving. And that certainly wasn't what we saw in 2022. And so we had to, you'll be aware that we made some staff changes at the end of 2022 to try to achieve that new model, I guess. I think it's important as trustees that we don't always look back from a negative perspective, but we also have to, I think, realise what's new and what the new model needed to be more sustainable going forward. So that was really one of our key objectives. Our other key objective going into 2023 was to try to redress our reserves. I think you all know it's important that we do that. It's appropriate for us as trustees just to maintain a robust degree of reserves to ensure that we have an ability to maintain our liabilities going forward. The position that we were left at the end of 2022 wasn't appropriate for that, and we needed to rebuild slightly, or one of our objectives to rebuild slightly. We committed to try to rebuild our reserves over a period of 24 months. Doing it within 12 months was probably going to be a little bit too much of a heavy load, so our objective was to try to do that over a 24-month period. So I guess just to summarise, and I'll sort of move on to where we are now in terms of giving you some insight in what 23 looks like. But yes, we did have to make some changes as we moved into 2023. And yeah, I just want to call out some people around that and just to express our gratitude really and to celebrate them. Obviously Trina and Reynard left the staff team during that process. And thank you for everything that you brought into that role. We're grateful for you. We're grateful for your humility and your kindness in terms of understanding the process. Matt has also been speaking with us recently, actually, and will be stepping down at the end of November from his role. So again, thanks, Matt. I know it's a recent change for you, but we're very grateful for everything you've done. And for you, for Trina, for Reynard, just pray for, for God's ongoing provision, really, but also the opening of the doors for you and your families in your world. During that process, I guess it's really important just to call out the work that Joe did. Joe carried a lot of the heavy lifting as we looked to restructure the staff team. And that was a challenging period, but something that we, in our hearts, wanted to do as well as we could, and with the appropriate process and diligence. And I believe with Joe's help we did that, and thank you, Joe, for everything that you had to carry during that period. Clive was a trustee, stepped down earlier this year, so we miss Clive. We continue to pray for him and his family, but he was a trustee with us for a number of years, and we're very grateful for everything that he did. Duncan also sits in the background in the staff team and often argues with banks. I think generally it's what I remember most about Duncan. But has been an amazing support, and both for us as trustees and I know for Joe and the staff team. Thank you, Duncan, for everything that you've done. I think you'll be sort of taking a bit of a break at the end of the year, but you've brought, just a massive amount to us, and we're grateful for that. Also, just want to call out Monica. Monica's sat on the trustee meetings over the last couple of years as an advisor to the trustees, and it's been amazing to have you. I'd ask you to advise me on most parts of my world, but specifically in terms of the trustees, thank you. It's been great to have you with us. So yeah, that's really what I want to call out, and just obviously the other trustees that serve with me, thank you. Like I say, I think it's a privilege to be a trustee. It has its moments, but it's an important role, and we appreciate your prayers as we do our best in that scenario. So with the backdrop of that, just a quick summary of where we've got to year to date. in terms of 2023, and it is showing a more positive environment. Our income and our costs have stabilised. We expect to come in, we expect to reach year end with the costs likely to be lower than we've budgeted, which is good news, and we will be slightly ahead of our target in terms of resetting our reserves. So as I said, we'd set a 24-month objective to reset our reserves. We're probably going to make a little bit more progress in the first 12 months than we anticipated, and that's really positive. So I think 2023 is it's been a year where we've been able to celebrate just being able to, I guess, re-establish some of that stability. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.
One of the things that you won't know is that Pauline has been a trustee of Restore, we think, for about 15 years. It's just gone just like that for Pauline, because it's been one long joy. And a couple of years ago, we needed someone to step in as chair, and Pauline stepped forward to do that. I think she stepped in technically as interim chair, and we just forgot about the interim bit. But she's done a fantastic job through the last 15 years. She's actually done a fantastic job in chairing the trustees as well. And what I really appreciate with Pauline is she's very diligent, she's very focused, she's very caring, and she's very prayerful. And that combination in a chair of trustees is a rare gift, but an invaluable gift. The sad news about tonight is that Pauline has finally got to the point of saying, I'd like a break from this. And so Pauline's not going anywhere, but she is stepping down from chair of trustees. We're going to do a better celebration of Pauline than this. But Pauline has done an amazing job, and we are very grateful to God for you, Pauline, and we celebrate all that God's going to do for you in this next season. Thank you. Thank you for the finance and stuff. You will have spotted, probably in the prep for this, that part of what we've been working on over the last year or two is trying to strengthen our structures. So as we reorganise to multiply congregations to better fulfil our vision of seeing communities impacted and people come to know Jesus, we've been working at how we update and strengthen our structures to underpin us as an organisation. As a part of that, we asked all the members of Restore to vote over a number of issues, which should come up on the screen now, I think. So accepting the 2022 accounts, adopting the proposed new constitution, appointing new trustees, and appointing Restore family elders. And we asked members to vote on all of those things. I'm really, really pleased to say thank you to everyone who voted. We were really encouraged by the number of people who voted on the different issues. And we were also really encouraged by the unanimity with which people voted. I think out of all of the proposals, everyone was overwhelmingly voted in favour of. And I think the lowest vote was 96.5%. And under the Constitution, we need a vote of 70% or plus. So everyone that was proposed in terms of trustee or elders and the new Constitution and adopting the accounts were all voted in. So the trustees of Restore now are as follows. Pauline obviously is stepping down. Clive stepped down earlier in the year. Bernard van Jaarsveld is going to step in as interim chair. Emphasis on interim. Bernard sent his apologies. He was up north today, and his meetings overran, and he was last heard of in a traffic jam outside Birmingham, sending his apologies but trying to tune in. So Bernard is the new permanent chair of trustees of Restore Community Church, and he's joined by Anne Granger and now by Steve Hale and Matt Green, who've both been voted in as trustees. And we're actually currently in conversation with more people as well, because we would like to expand our number of trustees. And we have also, as of tonight, appointed a new one-year eldership team to begin the process of Restore Family Elders. And that is myself, Jodie Collins. I was going to point to Jodie in the room, but she's in Zambia. So Jodie, who I think is joining us online, but also Monica Needs, Tobias Engala, and Brenton Waite. And as we said in the communication around that, what we aim to do in the start of 2024 is a fresh recruitment process so we can enlarge the number of trustees and in particular look at adding non-staff trustees to the team. I think that is all the information that we need to communicate to you. So, as promised at the beginning, we're happy to take any questions. Joe's nodding ahead to say there's no, or shaking ahead to say there's no questions online. So obviously everyone online is so impressed and everything's so clear. They haven't got any questions. Is there any questions in the room anyone would like to ask? Yeah. Vainant.
I'll start just to be honest. It's a question I pose to you, but I guess it's maybe just worth that we're clear on so that we know. But in terms of, we said the percentages there for the voting in all those 4 issues.
Yeah.
I guess the question is what's the number, or how do we say that that's scored?
Yeah.
For meetings?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good question. So Vainant's asking, what are the numbers to make a vote quorate or to make a meeting quorate, which is a great question. Under our old constitution, we've had to make all these changes under the provisions of our old constitution. Under our old constitution, a quorate for a vote or a meeting would be 10% of the members of Restore. And it's either, and actually technically in the Constitution, it's either 10 people or 10% of the membership of Restore, whichever the bigger is, and the bigger is clearly 10% of the members. We're over that in terms of the number of people joined in and the number of people that have voted, and that makes us quorate. We've got a number of things that, with any constitution, you want a constitution to be a living document, so you want it to be continually updated. What we didn't do enough with the 2012 one was keep our eye on it and keep developing it year by year. We've already started a list, and what we intend to do is every year at the AGM we will update and refine the constitution document, because you never really know how something's going to work until you're in the process of working it out. And things like quorums is something that we'll do a bit more work on, because obviously as we're a multi-site church, we've got to think not just about the number of people in the room, but you want representation from each of the different locations as well. So that's something that we'll bring some more detail to as we go, but as it stands, it's 10% of the members of people. Any other questions?
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
On membership.
Yeah.
I read on the document it talks about being at the congregation for 12 months.
Yeah.
And then one certain month at minimum.
Yeah.
Whether it be a congregation or home.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything.
Paul's asking a question about membership and the criteria for membership as Restore Community Church, and the fact that under the new constitution, sorry, this is so for people at home, the criteria that we put for membership under the new constitution was for people to be attending Restore for 12 months, for a minimum of 12 months, at least once a month, either as a small group or a congregation. We trialled different thoughts around definition of membership, and actually the legal advice we were given was to try and narrow the definition of membership, so that actually you have a small number of people that vote and govern the organisation. Now, when we spoke to various people around Restore, nobody liked that, because they didn't think it fitted the values and the ethos of Restore, and everyone wanted as wide a possible definition as we could make for members. And so we opted to go for something that was very inclusive and very wide. Yes, you are right, it doesn't say that you have to be a follower of Jesus to be a member, and that's maybe something that we should look at and refine, although in lots of ways I quite like the fact I would find it really sad if someone could come to Restore month in, month out for a year and not have their life impacted by Jesus. Equally, if they had something to say about Restore, I think I'm quite open to hear that as well. So some of these things I think are things that we might continue to refine and work, But the overwhelming feedback we got was people wanted our definition to be as wide and inclusive as possible. And I'm really pleased that we've opted to go that way. So I don't know whether that answers your question. Next year I'll get an elder to answer the question, because otherwise I'm having to make it up on my own. I am one of them, but I'm not the only one. I'll get the chair of trustees too. It's a good question. Like I say, all of these things, we want to be as open as possible. We want to journey together. That's why when we shared the Constitution, we said if you got any feedback. And actually all the feedback we got was really helpful, and some people came out with some really constructive things. We were like, wow, I never thought about that. That's a great idea. And it's been really helpful. So you will help us shape better the structures of Restore, because Restore is us together. It's not the people who stand up at the front. It's all of us together, and we all contribute into making Restore what it is and what we trust God wants to do through the work of Restore. Yes, you can. Pauline, so the question is, the 15% reduction in revenue, is that 15% reduction in members or not?
No, that was absolutely in the giving. So, 15% reduction year on year compared to 21 into 22, 15% reduction. We have got a slide that shows what the giving looked like, but it doesn't represent that 15%, if that makes sense. That makes sense. So there is the data around how many donations there were, or how many givers there were. Sorry, was that your question? Have I misunderstood the question? No, not necessarily. We didn't show the stat that shows whether the number of givers had changed, so I can give you that information. But the 15% is purely relative to the amount, the value that the income was reduced by.
I think what we've been trying to work out from the last couple of years is obviously we, as with many churches, had a big change in numbers out of COVID, and we're trying to work out where everything has levelled at the other side of COVID. I think a lot of our fall in terms of attendance over 20 to 22 and in terms of income is largely the COVID effect, and some people haven't returned. Some people are still returning. Interesting enough, I think in 2023 all of our locations are growing numerically. What people will tell you in terms of church stats and things, normally giving lags by about a year or 18 months to attendance. So if you're new to Restore over the last year and 18 months and you're not a regular giver, we'd encourage you to join in the adventure of giving on the Restore website. There's a giving tag, and you can make a standing order there, a regular commitment to give to Restore. I think it's a really healthy part of discipleship. But one of our challenges going forward is we need to build our financial base. I think we're in a stronger place, having made as painful as it has been, having made the staffing reshaping that we have and the reductions. That's put us in a stronger place. And I think we'll start 2023 budgeting for 2024 budgeting for a surplus, having created a surplus in 2023. And that then puts us in a strong position to think about how do we want to grow and develop as we move forward. But it's been a hard couple of years in terms of making the readjustments. Does that answer it? If you want more detail, we can give it. When I say we, I mean Pauline. Or Joe.
One other question maybe. Is the sort of breakdown between the various five different, and that would be quite interesting if you give that information.
Yeah, we do. The question was whether we track the giving per congregation, and we do, and we also track the attendance per congregation, so we can see some congregations do give more than others. Equally, some contexts are different than others as well. So some of our congregations, take somewhere like Albany, it's a greater area of deprivation. So we may choose to subsidise, actually we get some external funding to the work at Albany as well, but we may choose to subsidise Albany because of the income status of the community around. But it's one of the things that we're tracking, and as we grow and congregations develop, because ultimately you would want every congregation to be covering its own costs and potentially helping church plant or help with World Mission or whatever else. But we may do some cross-subsidy where needs require it, I guess.
On the how do you call it, the community charity, there's a fairly decent reserve there. Nearly, what's it, 250,000, I think. What is your thoughts?
Warren's asking about the size of reserve on the community charity, which is a good spot. That's largely the Beyond Ourselves reserve. Beyond Ourselves has a very large reserve, which is restricted from that sense. So most of the money when we talk about the community charity is actually Beyond Ourselves. And what's been interesting with Beyond Ourselves is God is creating new opportunities in terms of going wider, whereas we were at a point of thinking that the schools that we'd created and were growing, we were thinking maybe we'd just hand them over and we might even come to a point that we kind of wind up Beyond Ourselves. And Beyond Ourselves has been trying to run down the reserves, but every time they've run down the reserves, other things have happened and the money's increased. So one of the things we're sensing is that God hasn't finished with Beyond Ourselves yet. And obviously that money is there for a reason, but there needs to be a whole strategy behind how we do that. But it isn't money that we can, just suddenly decide we're going to spend in Loughton or somewhere.
Coming from government sources or coming from the
A lot of it comes from sponsorship and fundraising events that Beyond Ourselves have been brilliant at doing. Shout out to the Beyond Ourselves team. I'll take one more question in the room because I wanted to get us finished at a decent time. If there is another, any other questions? Yes, Steve's got a question. Steve Hill.
The reserves. It may be that someone online or someone in the room is thinking, well, you're a church, why do you need to build up reserves like that? And I know there is a reason for that. Perhaps it just needs to be made clear.
Yeah. So Steve Hale, one of our new trustees, is asking a question about the finance. Just saying it might be worth explaining why we need reserves and why would we bother doing that, because you could say we trust God, so why would we need to have reserves? Basically, you want to keep in your reserves, you want to keep something like 3 months of operating costs, because as you're employing people, then you have a responsibility to look after those people. So on an ongoing basis, you want 3 to 4 months of reserves that cover those costs in case the unthinkable happened, which the last few years we know the unthinkable can happen. And so we want to keep ourselves in a sustainable place that also means we can take care of our people, because that's one of our key principles. So that's why we want to build up the reserves. It's never good to be continually under your reserve level. So does that answer it adequately? Good. Next year, Steve will be answering that question. I'm going to wrap up this evening, but thank you so much for joining us. If you have any other questions, either speak to us personally or send them to questions@restorecc.org.uk, because we want to be as open and transparent and as clear on all of these issues as we possibly can. And if you message us, we will answer you. We will guarantee that we will answer you. So please, 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 the most stupid question is the question that someone never asked. So please, please, please do ask your questions. But thank you for joining with us tonight. I suppose we should pray, shouldn't we? And then we'll say good night. Lord, we want to thank you for your goodness to us, Lord. And Lord, thank you. It's been great to be together and to be able to celebrate, Lord, all that you've done and all that you are doing in our different locations and the work of Beyond Ourselves and beyond. And Father, we want to be as an organisation, Lord, we want to be as most Jesus-centred as we can. And we want to be as strong as we possibly can to be able to fulfil the call that you've put on our lives. So, Lord, we want to pray your blessing over the whole of Restore tonight. You want to pray your blessing over everyone in the room and everyone that's tuned in or everyone that will watch this in the future. And we pray, Lord God, that you'll continue to grow us in you and that we will continue to shine the light of Jesus into the community that you've put around us. In your wonderful name. Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Over and out.